Hello, fellow Star Trek fans. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Clonestar podcast. I am your host, Mike Overton, and I am joined by two of my most favorite people in the world. It is the wonderful Jodie Pickens and Mike number two, Mr. Michael Goodwill. And this week, we've got a little treat for you. We are going to be reviewing the brand new Paramount Plus exclusive movie, which is entitled Section 31. Now, just a quick thing. This episode is going to be damn well full of spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, make sure that you check it out on Paramount Plus, and it's available right now. Now, with that being said, guys, welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
So, little bit of context. Myself and Mr. Goodwill were lucky enough to go to the world premiere last week from this being recorded, where we got to mingle a little bit with a couple of people, and we got to see the movie early. And the lovely Jodie Pickens, unfortunately being stuck in America, could not make it, so she has watched it virtually. But it's still been watched. That's the main thing.
Yes.
So first off, thank you to Paramount for inviting us and for providing access to the movie early so we can give you this review. I will also just like to let everybody know that our opinions are our own. They are not paid for. They are not sponsored. None of that malarkey. I think you're probably going to guess that by the way that this review is going to go. Anyway, with that being said, let's talk about Section 31, and let's start off with the plot, which is essentially really easy. It's Captain Georgiou, and that's about it. That's all I can tell you.
That's
That's it. We're done. See you later, guys.
Okay, thanks very much for tuning in.
Good review. Good review.
Good. Yeah, I think I was succinct. Yeah.
So the movie starts with a kind of like a little bit of backstory to Georgiou, which I really actually quite enjoyed. We get to see how she becomes Emperor. And I'm not going to go into too many details because I don't want to give too much away, but we get to see how she becomes Emperor. And then we kind of fast forward to around 65 years after the events of Discovery Season 2. So we're talking the 23-24-ish era. Where Captain Georgiou is back in the prime timeline. Now, we can only guess this is from the Guardian of Forever's doing on season 4. Yeah, is it 4? Yeah, it was 4. But season 4 and season 5 of Discovery just kind of together. Season 4 of Discovery, there we go. And she is now the proprietor of a space station, a space bar, hotel kind of thing, space station that sits outside of Federation space. And her name is, she's going by Madame de Franck.
Madame de Franck.
Madame de Franck. Where essentially she's a glorified bar owner.
Yeah.
Kind of the only way I can describe it. She spots some Section 31 agents really easily because they kind of stick out like a sore thumb, one of them being a Ferengi that's laughing. Kind of a bit of a giveaway. I've never seen a Ferengi laugh before, have you?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think I've ever seen a Ferengi laugh. I mean, we're not talking like a chuckle. We're talking full-on pissing themselves laughing. We're going to talk more on that one later. So,
are you sure you don't mean Vulcan?
The Vulcans, yes. More on that will definitely be coming later. So anyway, she spots Section 31 agents, decides to join them, thwarts a terrorist attempt, that fails, and the rest of the storyline is essentially them thwarting said terrorist attempt, where someone was trying to buy some god-awful terrorist weapon. Which I'm not going to tell you where it comes from because that kind of really is a big spoiler, and I think you really need to watch that one for that. But it's just a really nasty weapon. It's very pretty. The weapon is very pretty.
It is.
But it's still a weapon nonetheless. So that's kind of the gist of the storyline. Captain Georgiou, we get a little bit of understanding of where she comes from, tries to stop a terrorist attempt, fails, and then the rest of the movie is her and the rest of the Section 31 agents trying to stop said terrorist attempt. So, with that being said, shall we talk about the good things or the bad things first? I think we should do the bad things, get them all out of the way, and then we can kind of end the episode on a highlight. Because
yes.
well, there's quite a lot of bad stuff to talk about, I think. I think the first thing I really want to talk about is, okay, so we kind of have, I think it's, well, 5 main characters, right? So we have Philippa Georgiou, we have Alok Sahar, we have Quasi, Zeth, Rachel Garrett, more on her later, Fuzz, and this mystery man who keeps thwarting said terrorist attempt, which, again, I'm not going to give too much away. You'll have to watch it, but all becomes quite clear when, towards the very end of the movie, they work out who said person is. So, Fuzz is the Ferengi, played by Sven Rygock. The wonderful Rob Kaczynski plays Zeph, who is a mech man, kind of man stuck in a suit. Quasi is played by Sam Richardson, and Omar Hardwick plays Alok Sahar, and of course the wonderful Michelle Yeoh plays Philippa Georgiou. So, Fuzz the Ferengi, who's not actually a Ferengi. What I can't remember what species he is. What species is Fuzz? He's a
Comaloid?
The microorganisms, aren't they?
Oh, Nantikin or something.
Nantikin.
Yes.
Essentially,
Nantikin, yeah.
They're about the size of a sperm. It's the only kind of thing that came to mind. Sorry. But you get the idea, and essentially they are a microscopic organism that...
You could have just said micro-alien. I'm just saying.
Okay, fine. Micro-alien. Yes, fine. He's a micro-alien, the size of a single-celled organism, who essentially controls this mechanical body. Now, this mechanical body is Ferengi, who has a god-awful, terrible Irish accent. Now, I don't mean to pick on Sven Rygock here, because to be honest with you, I've never seen a lot of his work, so I don't really know if accents are kind of his forte. Based on this movie, they most certainly are not.
Can I just quickly interject? Are you sure it's a Ferengi and not a Vulcan?
Yes, sorry, Vulcan. Yes, where the hell did I get Ferengi from?
I just wanted to just put that there.
Yes.
I know the ears were a little bit, but
okay. Let me just rewind for a second, chaps and chapesses, and the lovely other people watching said show. I am very wrong. Yes, it is a Vulcan, not a Ferengi. 100% Vulcan. So, it is a mechanical Vulcan suit
thing. No, it's an actual mechanical
like a golem
android.
Yeah,
like a golem.
Like Picard's golem,
but it's sort of like a less sophisticated android, which sort of leads me to believe that Noonien Singer's got a dealership somewhere at this point in time.
Think B4, but without a brain.
Before.
Yes,
yeah.
Before. Yes,
with a tan. Yes,
and pointy ears.
And pointy ears, yeah.
And a really terrible Irish accent with the...
Oh, no, I don't see what you mean, have a Falcon.
I apologise in advance to anybody Irish watching, listening. I apologise to my dear co-host, the wonderful Joseph Hurley, in advance.
Poor show.
I apologise to Joseph. I apologise to Sean. I apologise to the entire half of my family who is Irish, because a little bit of me, when I heard this accent, died inside because it was bad.
It was
all of those holodeck episodes that we've lived through.
Oh,
they're better.
Don't get me wrong. Star Trek has got a well-established history of taking the Mickey out of the Irish, but this takes it to a whole new level. This is just not broad stereotype. This is just attacking a country.
Yeah, it's not great, is it? I mean, no, I think that if they'd taken the Irish accent out and just left it with an American or British accent, would have gone a long way to being a positive part of this movie. Unfortunately, it's awful. And I think what also makes it worse is, for various reasons, I'm not going to go too far into it, but essentially his wife appears on the scene in another identical Vulcan body. And I apologize to everybody in the south of America, but it has a god-awful southern accent.
I'm looking for that man.
Yeah, I mean, it was...
I mean, I know. A lot of practice. I know something which he never did. But I know that I know that Star Trek has accents, and I know that aliens have accents, and I know at the end of the day, it is just a show. It is just a movie.
Yeah, but it gets to a point where it's almost borderline insulting. Like
even as Jodie said, we have had a lot of Irish accents in Star Trek from people who are supposed to be Irish. Now, this is an alien being. Now, was this alien being raised on the streets of Dublin, or just decided to be completely offensive to an entire country for no reason? It makes no sense for like a Nantuckin to have such a specific accent.
The Nantuckin didn't have the accent.
Well, he was driving the bus, so to speak.
Yes, but if you think about the close-up shots, because they do have a series of close-up shots where you're kind of like in his little orb, he doesn't have an Irish accent.
No, he doesn't. That's the programming. He can make it do whatever it wants.
But why
and that begs the question.
Really piss poor Irish accent.
Why would you get a Vulcan golem who, you know, I am from Mount Selea? No one on Vulcan goes, tell me about it here. Oh, you dear now, you little wee logic. You can't do that.
This is what I'm going to say. I agree with everything you're saying. But have we ever seen a Vulcan have anything else but just like a straight English?
No, but then he's
American.
not a Vulcan.
Yeah, that's a universal translator. That is a universal translator
that's fair.
Saying that accent when white. But again, it's like, why does the wife have a southern drawl? Like, again, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense for alien races to have accents. It makes sense for, like, we get Trip Tucker, who is a Floridian, and he's like, don't keep the boots on there, Captain. And it's just like, that's fine. But this, I think, any other accent done better would have been okay, but this was just, and again, I'm not joking, like, it's borderline offensive, man. Like, it was
like me
bad.
Going to Dublin, going up to a bar. I'd have 3 pints of Guinness, please. You're going to end up being punched in the face.
Yeah,
and it's almost getting to that point. Now, not to say, to be fair to him, the acting is actually quite good.
Yes.
It's just a shame about the terrible
I would love to know. Yeah. Yes. And I would also love to know the inspiration behind having those accents.
Yeah. Yes, me too.
Because someone directed them to do that.
It's not funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not supposed to be a comedy.
No, but I can see them wanting to put some kitschy moments into this, and I think they tried too hard.
Yes.
In this character. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So, yes, we've got a smattering of borderline offensive accents to deal with in this show. And I think if you can get past the accents, as I said, the acting is actually kind of good. Now, accents apart, there's a few other things we need to talk about. First off, someone loves spinning some cameras around.
Oh, God.
Now, take a motion sickness pill.
Yes, exactly.
Well, this is the thing. Me and Mike, again, were extremely fortunate to be at the world premiere in a movie theatre. I, on the day, was rather ill. And I had been plied with lots of delicious alcoholic beverages whilst also encountering influenza. So when the camera decides to do the 360.
And by 360, we're not
Once-
talking 360 degrees around. We're talking about over and under. Yes,
like
Yeah.
this,
exactly.
right? So if you do it once, okay, it's a novel camera trick. If you do it twice, okay, you've had your fill. If you do it at least 85 times in the runtime of this movie, someone has just got a little bit of kit and really wants to get the money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
And for me, action scenes, and this Discovery was a massive culprit for this.
Yep.
Discovery did this, especially in season 4 and 5. They use this technique way too much, and you don't need fancy camera trickery. I was a cameraman. I know to get an effective, dramatic fight scene, you don't need massive rotating camera tricks and this and that. You don't need that. And this, I said this and I was like, this is like if they've took the worst elements of Discovery and thought, they'll do, and then use them in the cinematography, because there was not only the 360 camera technique, was the mic.
No, but sorry, just to go back on the spinning camera for a second, just before we go a little bit further. So
Yeah.
the only times they used it, now there are some incredible fight scenes. There are, and
Yes.
I think that's one of the
Yes.
things Michelle Yeoh does extremely well.
Hands
Are
down.
the fight scenes. Now, it always seems to be when someone's being thrown over someone, that's when they decide to spin the camera around. Now, I was just looking to see who the cinematographer was on this, and it's Glenn Keenan,
Mm-hmm.
who's also the cinematographer for 20 episodes of Star Trek Discovery in season 1, 2, and 3. So in other words, season 1, episode 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15, which are all the ones that have got bizarre camera things going on. Most of season 2 and the first half of season 3, which is when it, I think one of the things season 4 and season 5 of Discovery does really well is they get rid of that.
For the most part, yeah.
Most part, yes.
But they do have it in the final season. They do use that technique. And it's, like I said, once, twice, that's fine. But then it just gets really old really fast. And if you're in a movie theater and you are seeing that again and again, it's the Cloverfield effect. You start to get motion sickness because it's happening again. Now imagine if you saw this on an IMAX screen and it's doing that. And it just I am by no means saying that you should never do this sort of thing, but use other techniques in the textbook than that one thing.
Even from just like on your TV, it's hard to follow.
Yes.
What's going on in the scene. And so I think it is a bit distracting. They have that sequence where they're on the flatbed, kind of open-aired.
Yep.
Exactly. This is what I was going to mention, Yep.
So much potential in that sequence, and you are turned off from it because it just doesn't look good.
No.
For that whole sequence, when I was watching, I was trying really, really hard to watch this scene because this was an exciting scene. It just resonated Star Wars to me. You had this anti-grav going through tunnels, and I thought this is going to be cool. But I don't know whether it was because of the lighting, the color tone, where it was, or how it was animated.
Yeah.
But I was completely and utterly detached from this massive scene to the point where I was just like, I don't know who's saying what's going on, who's talking, because there's a lot going on. The audio is very poorly mixed at this point, and I don't know whether it was the way that the cinema was set up, whether the audio was a little bit imbalanced and it wasn't.
I think it was because when I have watched it at home and I didn't have that issue at home.
I didn't have that.
But
so I think
the version that we have at home is only in stereo.
But I think what they did, it's gonna sound so old, but it was too loud. But it because you can't,
Old man.
Yeah, I know. I'm yelling at clouds, but because you can't visually and
You can't follow it along.
audibly comprehend what's going on, it attaches you, and you're just going to go. And you just sat, and I was sat, and I feel so sorry for the person next to me, i.e., because I'm just sat there, and I'm like, when's it going to end? And I shouldn't feel that in an action scene.
Well, and Michelle Yeoh had some excellent stunt work in that whole sequence, especially, and it gets a little lost because of that.
Well, I think the fight scenes in general in this are dragged out.
Yes.
All of the fight scenes, you know, you've got the fight scenes towards the beginning in her space station bar that go on for about 4.5, 5 minutes, which is just like, and it just drags on. Then you've got this fight sequence on these kind of like hover flatbeddy thingies in a tunnel. This tunnel must be the circumference of the Earth because it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. It's like Mission Impossible's runway; it just goes on forever.
Yes.
And again, it just dragged and dragged and dragged. And I'm almost wondering if these camera tricks, because I'm actually wondering if these camera tricks were actually done in camera or whether they were done in post.
I would say this, right? Two things. One, for a movie condensed from a TV series, there was a lot of unnecessary padding in the action scenes. Two, absolutely, there was some manual physical camera rotations, which is very hard to replicate, but there was also clear and transparent 360 rotations done in post-production, and you can clearly see which ones are which, and specifically it's the one when they're on the trolley going through. You can tell that it was artificially put in, but again, it's unnecessary.
But I'm wondering if they've done it because these action sequences have dragged on. Is it just a case that you're sitting there in the same 3 cameras watching the same thing from 3 different angles? Is that why they've done that? Just to kind of almost break it up a little bit?
Maybe.
Because
and don't make it too long.
On and on and on and on. So yeah, and then obviously you've also got the zooming that I know you really hated.
So this is a really annoying after effect in this movie.
Blame Adobe; it's all their fault now.
Damn your Premiere! But no, it's a really weird effect. So this was prevalent in 70s films and 70s action films where you get like a crash zoom. And we used to see it in not early sci-fi, but like 2000 sci-fi. So in space scenes, in say like Battlestar Galactica, you get a nice, beautiful shot and then a crash zoom. But these are not zooms done by the cameraman on the set at the time, where they're focusing on something.
Timeline just scaling.
Yeah, they focus on something and then bang, zoom, bang, pull out, bang, zoom. That's the crash zoom that you look at when you are when you are filming. This is done where they have tried to make a static or dull scene seem more engaging, exciting, and try and gear the audience's attention to one specific thing because there's so much on the screen that it could overstimulate the audience. So they, again, like the 360s, once, okay, twice, right, you've had your fill. But it was almost every damn scene, man. They had this artificial zoom to try and focus the audience's attention and to make it look swanky and to make it look like almost like a heist movie when it's not really a heist movie. Well, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's a testament to them wanting this to look cinematic.
Yeah.
And I think it had moments where it teetered on that, but there's a lot of things that made it look not cinematic at all.
it reduces the production value when they add
Yes.
After Effects like this. Again, a couple of times is fine, but when you were doing it again and again and again,
Yeah.
you are using it as a crutch to cover a very static shot or a very boring or a shot where there is so much happening on the screen that you need to manually direct the audience's attention and eyesight to this thing. And
Yes.
an audience is smart enough to know what is going on a screen. We are, not to be big-headed, we are Trekkies. We have seen Star Trek. We observe everything. We will
we
look
even
at the
go
stem
back
bolts
frame by frame to find
frame
things.
by frame, and we will find it. We will look at
We
it. But
will.
this is the way that it's. We know the budget of this movie. We know where it was allocated. But yes, it is a Star Trek movie. But let's not lose sight of the fact it is a direct to streaming movie.
Right.
And I would have been happy to have, say, the TV quality of cinematography that we had in Discovery, Strange New Worlds, and Picard for 2 hours. I would have been happy with that. There is no need to go, this is a movie, guys. Let's show them that we can do movie things. But let's do it in After Effects because we don't have the proper budget, time, or training to do these proper skills whilst on
to be
set.
honest with you, I would have much rather had a 10-edit mega cut of Picard season 3 to watch than
Yes.
this to a degree.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, look,
From a quality standpoint, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think, look, we can talk to a blue on the face. There are lots of technical aspects here on this film which just were a bit meh.
Yeah.
So before we move on to some other meh things, such as the script, whilst we're talking on the technical side of things, there are some things that, with my production design hat on, that I think really kind of were a bit lackluster. Now, for those who don't know, the production designer on this film is Paul Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Kirby has done some phenomenal films, such as Shazam. Yeah, and the last Hellboy movie. And the Kingsman movies. And then he has actually done some really good films like Captain Phillips. So I don't quite know where he kind of went from being the production designer of some really good films to, oh shit, what the fuck is this?
But again, you don't need all the money in the world to make good, visually appealing Star Trek.
Now, I think most of the sets were actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I agree with that.
The only set downside I have is it's like, oh, look, it's Discovery's Bridge with a lick of paint. Oh, look, it's Discovery's Bridge again with a different lick of paint. I think I saw Discovery's Bridge 3 times in this show.
Star Trek magic, though.
Yes.
That's what Star Trek. How many bridges have we seen that are the same one? We just changed the plaque. Yes. Come on.
I've
changed my bridge. It's a lick of paint.
How have I actually? I've moved my bridge around.
There you go. You are in the old ship. There you go. It's a refit. This is the Defiant.
But you can just tell it's Discovery's Bridge based on where the consoles are, where the beams are, where the doors are.
Yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, it wouldn't be a Star Trek movie without reusing the bridge. And to be fair, Discovery's Bridge set is quite pretty, and I actually quite like it. So to be fair, the fact they got some use out of it, I'm quite glad.
Yeah.
Now, there are 3 animated sequences in this movie, which are kind of... They're almost like chapter markers, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
We get one after Georgiou's backstory, which kind of outlines where this movie's going. Then there's a second one and a third one. And I think after the first one, number 2 and number 3 are just a bit pointless to a degree. I just don't think they actually add anything to the story, and they just kind of get in the way. And whoever the UI designer was has obviously, I don't think has ever worked on Star Trek before, because it looks nothing like any UI ever seen in Star Trek.
But they had a Delta badge.
It has a Delta badge. Yes, it has the wrong Delta badge, but I'm not even going to go into that story. Delta badge. Anyway, we're going to glaze over that. What I don't understand is the tricorders have got TNG sound effects on a landscape galaxy device with really odd Nemesis colored bad LCARs.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, bearing in mind, LCARs would not have existed at this point because they were still on the same generation of UI interface on the Enterprise B.
However, as we have seen in
Section
season
31 get access to that stuff early. But anyway, why the is it the same color as Nemesis when that's almost 100 years away?
Why not? How hard up are you that you cannot get someone to 3D print a tricorder? I'm sorry. I am truly and utterly sorry. However, there is an army of people in the world who have tricorder replicas, made tricorders, made really expensive tricorders. And I know for a fact that when Paramount was really hard up, they went to Diamond Select, they went to fans, and they said, we need props because we don't have the budget. We can't do that. Big Bang Theory did it with the tricorders and everything like that. So there's nothing stopping them making it look like how it's supposed to be at the time. However, we don't know when exactly this is taking place either.
Well, we kind of do. We know the star date, which I have now completely forgotten. It was 12 something or other.
1292.
92.4.
Which we know equates to April 17th, 2324. So we know it's 65 years after Discovery Season 2. And this is also the same year as a useful fun fact that Beverly Crusher was born. Jean-Louis Picard is 14 years old, and Jack Crusher is currently 15 years old.
No, Picard's about 23,
sorry,
24.
No, he's 24 and Jack is 25. Sorry.
He was the captain of the Stargazer in 33. That's a young boy.
Yes. He was 8 years old when he captained the Stargazer. Sorry.
Set course for Ferengi space.
Doing scoop. Sorry, I got me one in the wrong place. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense because there are some really good production design, like the UI interface and everything on the garbage scale bridge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's beautiful,
gorgeous.
I'm just going to call him the buyer of the weapon. I'm going to leave him at that. His ship, which is gorgeous, both inside and out. And then it's like, what the hell happened to tricorders? Was it just like, oh shit, we need something, let's just borrow this prop from Picard and stick a shit UI on it and hope no one notices it? Which, it's just annoying because they could have had so much fun with that. They could have easily gone to people like Mike and Denise, to Doug, and come up with, a really quick and easy light UI, or they could have gone to the Roddenberry archive with people like Andrew Jarvis and that there, who would have easily put something together in an afternoon, and it would actually look like it's supposed to be there and part of canon and sits within the timeline.
It feels that there is like a divide between the makers of Discovery and whoever made not whoever, but like who made Picard and everything like that.
There's so Strange New Worlds and Discovery have one set of graphic designers. And Picard had a very different set of graphic designers.
But if you are making a movie set in the 24th century, and we know that there is quite literally 30 years of visual documented aesthetics, animations, designs, color schemes for that time period, the bare minimum that you would do is just gloss over them and go, this is how this should look around here. This is what a lot of people class as the untold era, the lost era of Star Trek. And a lot of people were excited that, hearing the rumors that this movie will be set in this time period.
Yep.
And for me, if I didn't know that this was when it was supposed to be, I would have just thought this was the original series still. I would have thought this was still around that time period of Discovery and Strange New Worlds. I would have never have guessed that it was the 24th century. There was no visual cues. There was no sound effects to indicate that it was that. And they have a massive, huge library of all this. But it just feels like the graphic designers, everyone who worked on this film just separated themselves from it.
So interesting. I was just doing some reading there. So Stuart Pearce is the principal graphic designer who actually worked on Strange New Worlds and Discovery. And on he has a memory alpha page, and I'm just going to read it out. It says, as lead designer, Pearce has created many of the hero graphics and props and set decorations that are seen on screen, including a multitude of human and alien languages, notably Strange Sans, which is the current typeface used exclusively aboard the latest incarnation of the USS Enterprise. I'm not being funny, he didn't exactly create it, he just bastardized Eurostar, sorry. And he's also the designer behind the Strange New World Starfleet Command emblem. And I think that's part of the reason why I don't like it, is purely he also alongside generating various on-screen artworks, Pearce is also included in the dedication plaque of the Enterprise. And look, I don't like the UI on Strange New Worlds. It doesn't fit within canon at all, in my eyes, because we know what happens from Enterprise B onwards. We know what TOS did with it, and it's almost like they tried too hard. Same goes for the interface design on Discovery. I don't like the UI on Discovery either.
This is an era. Yeah, this is an era where we knew how it should look.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't. And again,
you can't do that with Trek fans.
No, you can't.
You can't do that with Trek fans because
we know our stuff.
We know our stuff, and we are about the details. Look, if you're new to Trek and you watch this film, you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, of course you are. 100%.
But if you're a long-time Trekker, Trek universe, no.
That's not the vast majority of the audience, sadly.
No, the vast majority of this audience are well-seasoned in the Trek universe, and they're going to have a problem with this. And just because of the details.
I'm not shitting on Stuart Pearce's work, because he has worked on some incredible things, such as The Boys, Code 8, and they have all got incredible things. But I think this is the problem. In my eyes, and this is how it comes across, and I don't know if this is true, but in my eyes, it comes across as this is what happens when a production company brings somebody in who has no idea about the franchise that they are about to work in.
Yes, you can't do that with Trek. You can't do that with any long-standing franchise.
And we know how some production companies and that don't really care enough to enforce it. Mm-hmm. I'm not naming names or anything like that, but
it's very the case of we want to make it our own. We want to make something that stands out, and it's a case of you can't do that. The reason why, and I'm going to make this comparison, but the reason why, say, Andor in Star Wars works the way it does as a standalone series. Well, hear me out on this. The way that it works, let's say visually, they take the aesthetic from 1977. They take the hairstyles from 1977. They take the worn yellow plastics that we had in the 70s, the iconography of the display screens and everything like that, and they use it. And there is continuity. With this, you can have advanced tech, it is Section 31, but you need to ground the existing fans, because I am fully aware that Star Trek is not as big as what it used to be, and we need new fans, but you also need to respect the current fans, the material itself, and the time that you are setting it in order for it to be merged into the canon.
I think that's one of the things that Star Wars as a whole, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a video game, a magazine, a comic book, a graphic novel, a TV show, a movie, it doesn't matter what, it all fits so well. And
the
Star Trek
aesthetic
has just become really disjointed. I mean, if you go back to the Berman era of Star Trek, didn't matter what show it was, you had the same art department. Whether it was TNG, Voyager, DS9, even Enterprise, they all had almost, well, there were some people move on, but the vast majority of the art department were the same. So there was massive continuity across it. And then it stopped, and then Paramount were like, yes, let's relaunch it. Great. Well, let's kind of do something. And then it's almost like they took what Enterprise was and just kind of went, well, let's see what happens if it had touchscreens instead. It's like, well, why would it have touchscreens? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And and when they were challenged, it's like, yes, but it's for modern audiences. And it's like, yeah, okay, but you've also got millions of fans that have followed this franchise for 50 years. All I'm going
to say is I'm not going to mention names, there was another graphic arts production company that pitched to do Discovery. I've seen the concepts that were generated for that, and they are absolutely beautiful and outstanding. And I think it's very sad that Paramount and whatever the production company is behind Strange New World, just behind Discovery, decided to go into a different direction, because what was created by Star Trek fans, and it fits perfectly. And I think,
well, look at Picard. Yeah. Look at that. It was created
that's what happens when you bring on people like Mike, Denise, Doug, and you've got people like Dave Blasser's production designer, who is a lifelong Trekkie and understands the continuity and making sure, and when you've got, especially when it comes to things like LCARS, for example, there is only one person on this planet that knows it inside out. And no, it's not me. It's another Mike, which is obviously Mike Okuda. And when
it's me.
Oh no!
But when when you're creating a show and says, right, we're going to have LCARS, but we need it to have an updated look. They didn't go to some random graphic design company and say, can you come and do? No, they went to Mike, and Mike worked with the production company to create some foundational guidelines. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. They kind of did their own thing, and then they gave it to Mike to kind of finesse, and then they worked together and to put to what we now have, which is why there's quite a stark difference between season 2 Stargazer LCARS and Titan LCARS, but because it was just a refinement. But with Strange New Worlds, Discovery, and now Section 31, that's not happening. You've got 3 completely different UIs. They've bastardized a very classic, well-renowned UI by throwing it's almost like they got some screenshots from Nemesis and just threw it on there.
I think
but I don't want to linger on this for too much. I just think it's sad, because there are some incredible production design parts to this. The sets all of the sets are stunning, whether they're redresses. There's rubble on the bridge when things break, so it's classic Star Trek because they put rocks on the bridge. They did the whole Discovery thing on, let's use the AR wall again that we haven't seen 64,000 million other times in the past. I'm not going to glow on it. It wouldn't be a Discovery era Star Trek without fucking AR wall. Going to gloss over that one, but I just think that I think it always seems to be overlooked, and it's such a iconic part of the franchise that you can't overlook it.
It's the difference between the 2 guys in charge of Star Wars who keep track of all of that continuity and storyline and the details, to we don't have that with Trek right now.
We can't even have merch with the right bloody ship on it. So let's
Correct.
yeah.
I think, I mean,
It's almost like sometimes there's just no care taken.
Correct.
It's all about just throwing it out as quickly as possible, and it's almost like
Details, people.
yeah, it's almost like they haven't got a proofreader, if you know what I mean. It's like they just throw these things out without it going through any kind of approvals process. I know there is an approvals process, but again, it's what happens when you're dealing with a franchise like Star Trek that is so well regarded and loved by so many people, but the people who are creating it don't have a clue. And I don't mean, and that's a massive generalization. I'm not saying
I know what you mean, though. Your point is there.
A massive generalization.
I want to highlight a point that I have had sticking in my brain since I've seen the movie.
Did that hurt?
Yes, having a thought is extremely painful.
No, I meant sticking in your brain.
Oh, I don't have a brain, it's fine. But now you see, when I heard there was going to be initially a Section 31 series, I was ecstatic. I was over the moon. Primarily because I was a huge fan of Section 31 in Deep Space Nine. They are the grey section of the Federation. They blur lines. They do the morally questionable things that the upstanding, smiley Starfleet and the Federation won't do. They are the black ops of the Federation.
Well, so they were even that in Picard season 3.
Yeah.
We even still felt that way about them.
Yeah, I was incredibly excited about this because I thought now is our chance to explore this moral ambiguity, this what is wrong to do right. We have to do wrong to do right. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. We must do these things for the good of the Federation. And I was looking forward to, personally, a serious series that focuses on this Black Ops team that does these questionable things to preserve the safety of the Federation, because I thought this is more or less taking DS9 to a darker area and exploring an avenue of Star Trek which has been very mysterious, very shrouded, but also you could make it Star Trek but also explore the non-Federation philosophies behind Section 31, why they exist as an entity, why they have been in the shadows for so long. And you could have had a really good story about moral quandaries and everything like that. And I think what really, really disappointed me is we took in an absolutely great entity to explore serious issues with, and they turned it into Guardians of the Galaxy with rotating cameras, and it just wasn't as serious as I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be grounded in stat, and I know modern Trek is capable of such things. Ad Astra per Aspera, from season 2 Strange New Worlds, season 3 of Picard, we can do amazingly serious things. And I wanted essentially Star Trek Black Ops. I thought it would have been great. We could have explored different avenues of the Federation and basically see the darker side of what preserves the peace in the galaxy.
I think
Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, I think the other side of that is, I think what a lot of people are expecting and were expecting was something to be set between season 1 and season 2 of Discovery. How Georgiou gets to where she is in season 2.
Yeah.
And the journey along that way, which I would have loved to have seen.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
And it would have been a great foundation, because you could have easily done that as the first movie, and then a second movie could be in this time point where she's been sent back.
She could have been sent to the Untold Era. She could have been sent to the Lost Era. She could have had a young Sloane.
Yeah.
She could have mentored a young Sloane, taught him the ways of the
there's
Emperor.
so many possibilities with it, and I think that look, at the end of the day, we know for a fact that this was supposed to be a show, not a movie, and it was then restructured into a movie, and we can tell where episodes would have been based on parts of the storyline, and I think there are always inherent problems when you do that. And this has all of those inherent problems.
It does. But the one thing that I think it comes away with is you do get more insight into Georgiou.
Yes.
And
I
it's
think
really...
if they had just named it Star Trek Philippa Georgiou.
Georgiou, yeah.
I think we would be having a very different conversation.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
If that perspective of the film, that's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the last points I've got on my bad list, as it were, is Rachel Garrett. Now, before anybody starts shouting at their screen, this is not what you're expecting. We love Rachel Garrett.
Oh, we do.
That's not within question. I think what lets it down is it's not what we were expecting. Now, I've heard a whole host of rumors from countless people from there was an Enterprise C bridge built and there was a whole Enterprise C storyline that was supposed to appear, all the way down to, well, she was supposed to be a background character and everything in between. So, look, I think they could have explored her a little bit more. What they did with her was fantastic.
Yeah.
The script, her lines that she had was incredible.
Ripping. They were great.
There were so many great one-liners.
Yes. And delivered well. The actress?
Absolutely nailed it.
Nailed it.
I think the biggest problem with it is when Paramount announced, guess what? We have got Rachel Garrett is going to be in this. I think what happened, there was no context and fans let their minds run a little bit.
There was a great fanfare when they announced it, though. This is the problem with Paramount. They set themselves up to fail far too often because they go, we got the captain of the Enterprise C. We're going to have Rachel Garrett. It's going to be amazing. This is why there was a statue in Picard season 3. Look, we've got this. And you're like, great. We can explore Rachel Garrett. Oh, right. She had a few great one-liners. The character was great, but that's it.
Yes. And I just think it was a bunch of missed opportunities. The character is actually really good, and I really hope that we get more.
That's what we get. We want more.
We want more Rachel Garrett. I just think, look, at the end of the day, it's people just need to set their expectations that all of the rumors are wrong.
Yeah,
correct.
Every rumor is wrong. It's not at all what you're expecting about Rachel Garrett. But in some ways, I think
these rumors.
Sorry?
I think it's a good thing.
We approached people with these rumors. We were curtailing actors, production staff. I was texting people in other countries going, I need an answer to this. And they're like, dude, what are you doing? Go to bed.
Where did you get this from?
Yes, exactly.
So, look, I think I actually really loved Rachel's. I really loved the character. The actress did an incredible job. The script was so well written for her parts. I just think fans just need to almost just ignore the rumors, pretend you never heard the rumors, because I think if you are going into this movie with these expectations that there's going to be an Enterprise C storyline and, you know, there's all of this stuff, you are going to be greatly disappointed, and I think that's a shame.
Go in with a clean slate.
Yes, exactly that.
Yes.
So, on that note, let's talk about the good parts of this movie. First one, Jeff Russo did a phenomenal job, as he always does with the score.
From the minute it started, it was just stellar, and it sets a tone so beautifully. He is a storyteller through what he writes, and it's perfect for Trek. And so, if anything, this is a score you're going to want to listen to.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they release it. They might
They
not.
should.
Oh, they will.
Well,
they will.
They have to. I say so. Just saying.
I need Section 31 merch. I need Section 31 merch that is not a napkin. So please, just.
I accidentally washed my napkins.
Oh.
I put my shirt in the wash this morning and I got it out. And then my other half was putting it on the line and went, "What is this in the pocket?" And it's just a wad of Section 31 napkins.
Would you like to buy a napkin, Mike? It's £500.
I'll have two.
Do you want it framed?
Yes.
That's £750, please.
Can I have the tears of a lost child with it as well, please?
You can have my tears.
So look, I mean, the score is absolutely fantastic, but once again, Jeff Russo has really, really knocked it out the park.
Yeah.
Every score he does, all the way back to the stuff he did with Fargo, and everything he's done with Star Trek has been absolutely incredible.
Stellar.
Yeah.
I love that opening sequence had very like DS9 qualities to it also, and I think that fans will appreciate that even more.
The score. Yeah. I think in this case, the score makes the movie.
Mm-hmm. It certainly helps it.
Oh, 100%. So yes, the score is absolutely fantastic. I have to say, Gersha Phillips did an insane job with the costumes on this show, on this movie. Sorry, they
are so elaborate.
Everything is absolutely stunning. You know, all the way through, from the beginnings to the end.
Everything.
How stunning does Michelle Yeoh look all the way through this movie?
Yeah.
Every time. Absolutely. Every time she's in a different outfit, you are like, wow. Yeah. Just wow. Yeah. I mean, the cosplayers are going to go nuts for this movie. The costuming.
I mean, Rob Kaczynski's character, Zeph, his biosuit is just absolutely incredible.
It's great.
Even down to, like, all of the headgear with Dada No, and it's just really well done.
Rob Kaczynski's suit, he lost so much weight.
I think he was 10 pounds or something.
10 pounds a day he was burning wearing this suit, and he just had to
sweating it off.
Yeah.
Where they were filming, they had to, obviously it was hot, and he was wearing this suit, and he was losing 10 to 12 pounds of sweat a day, and he was desperately trying to replenish himself with water, and to the point where he couldn't exactly go to the bathroom because he was literally just replenishing everything that his body had lost. So I gave all props to Rob for wearing, also a hardcore Star Trek fan, I gave all props to Rob for wearing it, because you watch that movie and it looks like there's costumes where you go, that's not as heavy as they're trying to portray it to be. Like, you can tell it's lightweight. His is. Yeah. It reminded me a lot of the power armor from Fallout.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very bulky, very heavy. So much respect to him.
Yep.
I think too, he makes it look like it's one. Like, he is one with that suit. Like, it just seemed very, even though the bulk of it and the heft of it comes across the screen, he did a fantastic job utilizing that as a part of his character.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, absolute hat off.
Yeah.
Costumes in this are incredible. Cosplayers are really, really going to
have fun. They're going to have fun.
Oh, yes. And also then, to go on that kind of side of stuff, the ships.
Oh, geez, yes.
Well, we only see a few ships. We see Madame de Frank's space station, which again is very ornate and almost
intricate,
floral in design. I mean, the bits that I kind of looked like the back end of the Orville. But it's absolutely stunning.
I sort of justified the station as in, it's like it doesn't have to abide by Federation regulations, so they can get away with making it look more ornate and look more elaborate and stuff like that. And it is very non-traditional, non-Federation. It is very just out there.
Yeah.
And they're fun. They're fun to look at.
Yeah.
I think the visual of them is strong, and it too sets a tone. I mean, that is fun to look at.
I mean, you also got you got the Section 31 ship, which you can tell is an evolution from the Section 31 ships we saw in Discovery.
Did you see the hull itself moving and pulsing and like really, you can tell it was cool. Was it nanite or nanobots or
you're thinking of reprogrammable matter. But that was 32nd century tech.
But I got that like feeling from it that it was like pulsating.
It looked more like, because obviously the nacelles are in Section 31 ships are almost like rectangles, aren't they? It's almost like that was kind of built in, and it's the blue parts of the nacelle. It's almost like those were kind of. But anyway, they look absolutely. My favorite ship though is the buyers of the said weapons ship, which literally looks like La Serena and Sebulba's pod racer had a love child. It's gorgeous.
It does. That's a great.
It really
analogy.
does.
That's perfect.
It's got the same engine design. It's orange. It's got hot rod lines on it. The bridge is so mirror universe up the wazoo with a singular seat in the middle of a vast empty bridge. It looks stunning.
Did you get a little vibe of like that Emperor's room from Star? Yeah, the throne room. Yeah.
It's almost like Georgiou's throne room, isn't it? Where you've got like those people that say it's almost like that. It just looks absolutely
sharp,
incredible. Even down to like even just the corridors on the the corridor sets for the space station look beautiful, and then obviously the garbage scow. Which
I love that ship.
Just a really
I loved it.
I thought it was really cool. Yeah.
Well, that was the hero ship. That's what they used for the Star Trek universe opening credit
logos.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's just
it's cool looking.
Yeah,
it's fun to look at. It's intricate we've seen garbage skulls, right? They've not been anything to look at in the past. This is a different vibe altogether.
And again, I think for all of the kind of the cool scenes with the garbage scow, it falls back to Rachel Garrett's character again, because all of the funny parts and all the really good parts on that ship all revolve around her.
Well, and that Sam Richardson is just a pro to play with. I mean, I think if you're working with him as an actor, he is just dry comedy supreme.
Absolutely.
And his line deliveries are fantastic.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think all of the ships we get to see in this film are incredible. Fan home, please. There's a couple we would love to see after May 20.
Take notes.
I think the other thing as well, we've talked about production design, we've talked about some really, really bad props, but there are a couple of props that are absolutely gorgeous. One of them is the weapon itself. It has a carry case. And it sits in its carry case. The carry case is very unassuming. You don't really notice. But once that carry case opens, you get this beautiful, like, Fabergé egg kind of kind of device. I'm not going to tell you what it's called because I don't want to give that away. But it's absolutely stunning. The actual prop itself is gorgeous. How much of it is special effects? I don't quite know. I hope none of it is special effects. I hope the whole thing is practical. But it is absolutely stunning. And there are a couple of other props throughout the film, again, which are just really well done. And I'm wondering if that's why the tricorders are so shit, because they blew all the money on the weapon.
Well, and the screens on the garbage scow are very intricate. They're awesome.
They're awesome. They're really, really well done.
I think Paramount needs to realize that when they are strapped for cash, they just need to go to fans who will do all of this pro bono just for the joy of being on a Star Trek production.
I'm here.
Call us.
Yes, call us.
I have a visa.
I can work remote 24/7. But no, I mean, look, there are some really beautiful parts to this film.
There are, and fans will appreciate that part 100%.
I think to touch on fans appreciating, let's just talk a little bit about Alok's backstory, because I think it's very well done. It's something we don't expect. We don't expect a character from the eugenics wars.
I agree.
It's again.
The only thing I would say, it's a really nice nod, but it wasn't explored enough.
Exactly. That it left me wanting more. Yeah. And maybe if that's the point, fine. But we do still need some foundational support to that storyline to really engage with the character and the overarching point of the movie. Yeah. And I agree. There were some.
Obviously, there was a little bit of backstory. We know that he was. I don't want to call it a slave because he wasn't, but he kind of was. So we kind of know that, and we know how he kind of got his superhuman strength and that. But that's kind of it. And I think it would have just been nice to.
I think the movie suffers critically with a lack of exposition because it was a series designed to flesh these out over 10 episodes or more. I again love this because it was the hope that this movie was in the Untold era, and as well as being in the Untold era, we also got the eugenics wars, which again is a very mysterious part of Star Trek canon. And I thought, yes, we're not only going to get the Untold era, we're going to get it. And it just, like Jodie said, it leaves me wanting more, but they could have just done a tiny fraction a bit more exposition just to satiate people.
I would have loved to have known. I mean, he's got to be 350 years old?
Something like that, yeah.
How the hell did he survive 350 years? Because, I mean, there's only so much genetics is going to do to kind of...
I mean, is he a time traveler? Was he
in a torpedo? I mean...
Was he on the Botany Bay?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. There's all these little nuggets that they could have dropped in here and there that would have really satisfied a lot of that missing.
Oh, it would have resonated with fans. It would have been great.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he could have. It could have also alluded this again. This could have been something else that they set up. Like the Botany Bay wasn't the only ship to escape that time, and then they could have done this. And then, do you know what I mean? And then Section 31 could have been sent to wherever they landed to deal with that, and there's a lot of avenues that they could explore, but they just needed that tiny little bit.
Moved him through to our timeline for a reason. Right. There's all of these weird.
Or Gary 7.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, I just had a really good thought, and I can't remember what it was.
So good.
Dang it.
So good. It was so good as well.
What was I just thinking about? Hang on. Let me see if I can remember.
I said the word Gary 7 and I just factory reset him. That's what I did.
You did. You did.
I'm the computer in the... Mike is working.
I've genuinely...
Insert cheese cube.
If he starts talking in a bad Irish accent, we're in trouble.
The man is here. What was it? Hang on. Let me think. Bonnie Bay.
You're a Vulcan there, Mike.
He's done. He's not done. Getting it back. He's not getting it back.
No, I can't remember what it was. That's a shame. Oh, no, I remember what it was now. We got this big backstory for Georgiou.
Yes.
It was a good 16 minutes of the movie.
Very good.
Which is really good. I'm going to touch on it in a second. It wouldn't have taken much to have had a 5-minute backstory to Alok, to Zeph, to Fuzz, to Quasi. Because obviously we know Quasi is this weird kind of shape-shifting kind of character.
Cameloid,
that's the one. But it just would have been nice to have a little bit of a backstory to who these people are.
Undiscovered country. But again, this is where the movie falls short, where they give backstories to some, they give very little backstory to others, but then we have moments where we are supposed to care, and I'm like, but I don't know them.
No.
That's what's hard about it, is that we don't connect.
Yeah.
Outside, I think, of Georgiou, who we all want more of all the time.
Yes.
We like Garrett. I think Garrett will resonate with fans.
Mm-hmm.
I think people will still want to know more about her.
Yeah.
But kind of outside of those two, I don't know that I'm connected with any of the other characters at this stage. Yeah. Do I want to know more about all of them? Yes, absolutely. I do.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a bit of a tough one, because I just think that there are,
misses.
Yeah, a 5-minute sequence.
Yes.
Times 3.
Yeah.
So another 15-minute sequence with just a short flashback to how these people came to where they are now.
Right.
Would have gone such a long way.
If you trimmed 15 minutes worth of fight scenes, you could have got this in perfectly.
Exactly. So on that note of backstories, as I mentioned earlier, the film starts with a backstory to Georgiou. Now, I am going to go into a little bit of detail with this because I think the entire thing is beautiful. We essentially find out how Philippa Georgiou becomes Emperor Philippa Georgiou. She's yet to earn the rest of her title. Which she does. So what it sounds like from this, and I really this is something that we've never really seen before. We actually get to see part of the Terran Empire, where it's really poor. It's proper, despair. Really, really poor.
It's a stripped result. It is symbolic of a vast empire that needs all the resources to survive. So you get these worlds that are just stripped bare.
They're desolate.
Everything. Desolate, yeah.
Anyway, let's not go touch on that one. But it's, I really liked the fact that the Emperor is chosen in an unconventional way. Now, throughout Discovery, there were hints that Georgiou killed her parents. We never really got any kind of, was she born into this role? Is it like royal family that when, the only way to get there is to kill your parents when they get to a certain age and you automatically assume the title? But we found out in this that actually it's a competition. They essentially take children from all over the Terran Empire and essentially pit them against themselves in, well, the only way I can kind of describe it is Hunger Games.
That's all it was.
He said it! Yes!
So, Terran Hunger Games. And essentially there are two left. There is San and Georgiou, and they have this wonderful saying where they literally say that they are one, they are lovers, they are friends. And the last sort of task is to kill your family, poison your family, which San unfortunately does not, and Philippa Georgiou does. She kills her sister, her brother. Is it brother? Yeah, brother. And her mum and her dad, and with that, she then becomes Emperor of the Terran Empire, and San's life is spared, to essentially serve the Emperor.
Yeah, he spends a life in servitude. Yeah,
exactly. And the way it was done so well. One thing I really enjoyed, and I don't really like these kinds of things, is once the kind of sequence kind of ends and just before they name her, a group of people beam down, and then more and more and more and more and more, and it's very Terran, isn't it? The fact that there are literally squads of hundreds of people beaming down at once.
You see the ISS Charon?
No, it's not.
Is it not?
It's not. No, because the Charon is really long. This is really tall.
I thought it was just the Charon nose down.
No.
Oh, right. Okay.
I don't think it was intentionally supposed to be. It looks like it's a very different ship.
I honestly assumed that it was the ISS Karen from season 1.
It can't be,
and
because the Karen was commissioned by Georgiou.
oh well, never mind. But
We
like, to
know that
see
because in in her flashback in season 4, when she has a flashback with the Guardian of Forever,
Mm-hmm.
we know from there that she commissioned it, and she was there for the christening ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
but it's still
Hard
a menacing, like,
Oh, it's still a massive
Oh, yeah.
fuck off ship. Don't get me wrong.
to see a grand scale of the
Yeah.
Empire, just to see this ship just nose down on the planet's surface, and the shot of how large this vessel is, that it stretches to the atmosphere,
Space, yeah.
and then it's just block after block after block after block of soldiers beaming down. Very imperial, very menacing, and it's just
very Terran.
very Terran.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
Well,
think
and that contrast between this massive empire and decked out to the teeth, and then you're just in this desolate landscape of the territory, it's powerful. It looks amazing.
It's an interesting way to choose a leader of an entire empire.
It is. I mean, I would really, again, something that the movie misses, but it would be really nice to know why.
Yeah. Is it to do away with nepotism and betrayal? And because if you think, like, in all like thing, the last time we saw any hint of the Terran Empire before this was in The Mirror Darkly from Star Trek Enterprise, where we saw Hoshi Sato murder the murder Archer, and then take over. Is it to eliminate nepotism? Is it to in order to be a pure emperor, you must cut yourself away from anything like that, from family, from friends?
Well, that's what I'm wondering, because I mean, if you think about leaders in the normal world are elected.
Yeah.
But I suppose to kind of make sure that, yes, you're right, there's no nepotism and there's no bias and any of that, is the only way.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, you need someone that's ruthless. And we know from parts of this film, she's literally one of the most ruthless emperors ever.
Well, and there's that whole side to this where it's like, are you willing to cut all ties and give up everything?
Yeah.
To dedicate yourself to this empire.
Yeah.
And
again, it's almost like the royal family.
but still, for me, it did resonate a little bit too much like Hunger Games. Like, it just felt, that trope felt a little too obvious.
It did, but I also think it's just a really interesting spin.
I don't disagree.
Put on something that's been touched upon many times throughout Discovery, but with very little information. And now we've got this kind of slap bang in your face. This is how Terran emperors are found, essentially, and how they become. I just think it's a really interesting. Yes, okay, the trope is a little bit played out, but it's a really interesting plotline.
Yeah,
it is, and it's.
I mean, could you imagine?
It fits well with Georgiou.
Exactly, but could you also imagine Starfleet Academy Mirror Universe?
Oops.
They could literally make a Mirror Universe show of literally how they fight. I mean, that would be great for some people. But yeah, I thought it was just a really interesting way of setting up the movie as a whole. And I think it's something that fans really eagerly wanted to see, was more backstory to Georgiou, and I think they
100%.
Yeah,
they did.
Absolutely.
They did.
So yes, that's one of my favorite parts. And then I suppose the last thing I have down on my good list is Zeph. Zeph, I think, is my favorite character out of this movie, other than Georgiou. Rob Kaczynski did an incredible job with this one. Everything down to, again, the script for him, there are some interesting, I'm just going to say interesting plot twists with his
Yeah.
character.
Mhm.
The costume is incredible, and I think the
Mhm.
acting that Rob gives it as well, even down to the whole suit dysmorphia syndrome. You know, you're talking to Zeph, you're talking to the suit, you know, or vice versa. No, you're talking to the suit, you're talking to Zeph, you know. It was just so well done. I'm glad he kept his British accent.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, again, it was just really good character. I mean, not to say that I didn't like the others. Rachel Garrett is a phenomenal character. She's got some great storylines. She's got some great writing for her. Alok is a bit boring, if I'm honest with you. Yes, we get the nice little nods from the eugenics wars, but the character as a
Yeah.
whole is a bit bland. It's like a vanilla
Just
milkshake.
flat. It landed
Yeah.
flat.
Quasi was cool. There was some really cool CGI with him transforming into a spider's web. I think is the closest thing I can come up with.
Right.
You know, so there are some really cool bits, but I just think that Zeph was, I don't know, I just felt like his character was just that little bit
It's
better.
it's the age-old trope of a Star Trek fan living out his
Yes.
fantasy,
You can tell
and
who the
he
Trekkie is.
poured
Just
his soul into this role.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I appreciate, I think my top three were Zeph and Rachel Garrett outside of Georgiou, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Georgia is
those,
kind of goes without saying.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously. I mean, Michelle Yeoh just is good. She's just good.
Yeah.
And she has elevated this character beyond, I think, what anybody ever expected. And she continues to
Yep.
in this film.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. So, yeah, it was just really nice to, you know, have a kind of, I want to say authentic character,
Yeah.
if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah.
The character comes across as very authentic. I know
Mhm.
sometimes a lot of these things, especially kind of cyborgs, they're either really shit or they're really good. They're like
Yeah.
golfers. There's no middle ground. And I can say that because unfortunately I work in the golf industry.
I was going to say that
But
just.
there we go. But yeah, it was just, you know, it was just really, yeah, again. And I think another sort of kind of like nod I would like to say is that Joe Pingy, who played Dada No, did a really good job as well. Dada No is a really
Yes.
cool character. Again,
Mhm.
really interesting plot twist with his character, something we don't see.
Yeah.
I loved
Yeah.
the bit when he's being interrogated by Joy. She didn't actually have to do anything other than whisper in his ear. So I would love to know what was said. I really would love to know what was said into his ear.
I will reveal your internet search history.
That'll do it.
Next time, use incognito mode, you idiot.
But no, honestly, I just think it was there's some really good characters in here, and you know,
they make the most of what they're doing and what they were given to do. And so I think that resonates, it comes off the screen very well. Like you get that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think above any other actor, and this is not a negative thing at all, but I think Rob is the most passionate about this continuing and this carrying on, and you can see that not only on screen, but when you meet him, when you talk to him, when you see him in interviews, he is extremely passionate about getting this movie off the ground. So the Power Man goes, we can do a sequel, or we can do a series.
Right. And I think what's interesting is with you saying that, like, a lot of these elements we liked.
Yeah.
And a lot of the core elements we liked. Do they need to do a better job of managing to the fandom and to the Trek universe?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
But that is fixable moving forward. That is something they could change.
Yep.
And absolutely. I think there is there's a chemistry with this core group of actors that you get from the screen, and they work well. We want to know more of their storylines. We want to know more about their backstory, and we want to know what they're going to do next.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, outside of all the things that Trekkies are going to tear up about some of the technical stuff. But
Yeah.
that's important to remember, that there's a solid element to this film.
Yep.
That it bears our attention.
Absolutely.
And to be excited about it in that way.
I think one of the things I've been saying all along with this film is if you take the film out of the Star Trek universe, it's actually a pretty good film. But the moment you put it into the Star Trek universe, it just becomes a pretty mediocre Star Trek film. And I think that's the problem.
Mediocre Star Trek film with a really great Michelle Yeoh character.
Yes. And I think on that note, the standout of this movie is Michelle Yeoh. Because once again,
100%.
Her character is incredible. We love Georgiou. You know, they've not steered away from the character that was created in Discovery. It's very true to that character from Discovery. And I think that is its strongest part of this film.
Yeah.
I think it elevated the character.
Yeah.
And I think if you want more of Georgiou, Michelle Yeoh delivers 100%.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, and everything about the character, the costumes, the environment, the backstory, all of it, and how she interacts with these new characters, you're going to love that part. You're going to love everything about it.
Yep, absolutely. She's done an incredible job in this film.
She wants you want more of that. I mean, if we want more of Georgiou, that's 100% what we want after this film.
Exactly that. And I just think it's a bit of a shame because, you know, fans are going to rip this apart.
Yeah, we're treasure hunters, and they have not brought the treasure.
Yes, and I think that's the problem. I think that's, and I think it's a shame because the film has its merits.
Yes,
it does. Yes, there's a lot wrong, and there is a lot wrong. But at the same time, there are bits of it that are just very good.
Mm-hmm.
Would you watch it again?
Yeah, I'll watch it again. I mean, I've seen it twice now. I'll probably watch it. I'll watch it when it comes out on Paramount Plus because I want the numbers. Yeah. But I think that's the problem. I think loads of people are going to flock to this, watch it, and go, "Oh my god," and slate it. And I think, I think that a lot of that is because there has been so much in the rumor mill that is wrong.
But also as well, there has been so much in the rumor mill, and there has been so incredibly little promotion for this Star Trek movie.
Yes.
The last time I saw something so little promoted in Star Trek, it was Star Trek Beyond. And I remember talking to Mike about this, where I was like, dude, I think I've seen one trailer for Section 31. And that was it.
2 trailers. There was a trailer released middle part of last year, which was a little teaser, 1-minute thing. And then there was a full 2-minute trailer just before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just on StarTrek.com now. It's now the second thing on the carousel at the top, which is they've just released some new promo imagery for. And it's only when you get halfway down the page does it have anything on there about it. And I've not seen anything elsewhere. I mean, when I went to the Strange New Worlds premiere in London, every tube station, every animated billboard had Strange New Worlds on it. I know in the US there were massive billboards everywhere promoting Paramount Plus with Strange New Worlds, season 2, you know, this, that, the other. And there has been absolutely nothing.
It was the same with Picard season 3. It was everywhere. There was promotions everywhere. With this, it was. I compared it to Star Trek Beyond because I was always wondering before Star Trek Beyond came out. I was wondering when's it coming out, and then there was one trailer, and then it's out, and I'm like, oh, is it? Oh shit, right, okay, I best go see it. And then with this, it's sort of it worries me because
it's almost
it's
like
a trope.
Don't have faith in it.
Yeah, it's a trope when there is so little promotion in a movie and then it comes out that the studio has no faith in it at all. They have no backing in it at all. And we are very, very grateful for Paramount to allow us to go down and be at this world premiere and celebrate it and share our love of Star Trek. But this was the world premiere.
Yeah, it's the world premiere. It was in a, don't get me wrong, it was a lovely hotel. The hotel has a dedicated, 200-person screening room, small cinema. But for a £19 million movie,
yeah, it just.
Here's the thing. In general, we want the IP owner of this franchise to take better care of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm saying anything that any other Trekkie wouldn't say at this stage. And I think what we're seeing in this film is the iteration of that. They're just not taking care of a franchise that could be off the charts in this world now.
We are not saying that Star Trek is dead. We are not saying that Star Trek is heading to the ground. What we are saying is you have every single opportunity, tool, and resource at your fingertips to take this franchise and make it exactly as good as it was in the 90s. Hell, even in 2023, when I always say that was the last golden era of Star Trek, you have all those resources and all they do is nothing. And when they do something, they miss the mark so widely because the people that they have taken on to handle it don't know the subject material. And the people that they do take on, i.e. Terry Matalas, he gets glowing reviews, the series gets glowing reviews, there is constant begging for legacy, signatures, petitions and stuff. And they just sat and they waited and they did nothing, and Terry went to Marvel.
But I don't look, as much as we would love to have Star Trek Legacy, it was never going to happen. It was never on the cards. Yes, we've done it twice. We got Strange New Worlds and we managed to get Prodigy for a second season. But I think the problem is these things have a 5-10 year plan. And Legacy was never part of that plan. And unfortunately, when you have a show that is made for fans by fans, it resonates more because those people that are making it understand it. And I said this earlier on, and I'm going to say it again. When you have a show or a movie that is created by people who don't understand or respect the franchise, this is what you get. You get this fragmented, mediocre content, which is a shame because us fans and let's face it, I think the other problem here as well is, look, Paramount, we do love you. We also hate you at the same time. There are more fans outside of the US than there are in the US. Just remember that one.
Germany.
Yeah, I know. They're building a hotel in Turkey. Perhaps you can get your teeth done whilst you're out there. I don't know. You've not seen that? There's a whole Prodigy themed, a Nickelodeon world in Turkey. There's a whole Prodigy themed hotel being built.
Okay, why?
Because Nickelodeon is there.
Okay.
Let's face it, Nickelodeon is only there because the parents want to go and get their teeth done, so they leave the kids at Nickelodeon World.
Turkey teeth. Anyway.
Exactly. So, but it's just really frustrating because we start, and everyone who's ever worked on the franchise says the same thing. Star Trek has the best and the most loyal fans. Yes.
Ooh,
flans. But it does.
It's so delicious.
I know. But it does have the best, the most loyal, the most understanding, the most accepting fans of any franchise ever. You know this when you go to cons. You go to a con, everybody, other than the strange weird person who was wearing a MAGA hat in Vegas, don't get me started on that one.
No, I
Everybody
won't.
is respectful and understanding. I mean, I've been to like Comic Cons and stuff, and you've got people clambering over people, pushing past, demanding things of, people they're wanting autographs of, demanding this, You don't get that with Star Trek. Everybody is polite. They want to talk. They want to, have their 5 minutes. And everybody understands everybody and is respectful. And the same goes when you make these shows. I mean, how many we've heard it. I mean, I've heard it dozens of times from the people, and I think I can call them friends now, who have been on these shows and said every show is like a family.
Yes.
And
but that leads me to say, though, Mike, I wonder if this is a product of the times. I mean, the 90s, obviously, high point of Trek, but Hollywood was different during the 90s than it is now. The whole face of production and streaming and everything has shaped.
Why do you think a lot of it is no longer made in America?
Right, right.
It's all made in Canada.
But I think that's probably part of the problem. There is no unity around the production of this franchise. No. And I don't know how we get back to that.
It's one of those things where I think the only way to get back to that is to have people in control of it that understand it. The thing is, though, look, Star Trek might not
Star Wars model?
Kind of. Look, Star Trek is never going to be the biggest grossing franchise out there. It's never going to be that because it's too hopeful. People don't a lot of people don't like hope.
I'm aware.
Yeah. Especially at the moment.
Especially at the moment, yeah. It's also on your T-shirt as well, I've just noticed.
It is, just so you notice.
And that's the problem. People, not necessarily Paramount, but the production companies, the people that are creating these shows, are only looking at the spreadsheet. They're only looking at, well, look, this show only grossed this. The fact it might have 100 million fans across the planet, they don't look at that. They just look to, well, in the US, it only grossed this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's all about the bottom line.
Exactly. And that's a shame. And obviously, that's what killed Star Trek first time round.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what's going to kill it this time round, unless we can get newer viewers. And the problem is, that's why Prodigy was stopped, because it didn't get the numbers. The fact of the matter is, I've heard this firsthand from people. We saw it in Vegas. How many kids did we see in Vegas?
Oh my gosh.
It was
never
unbelievable
at a con.
Yeah.
Well, very rarely you would see kids at a con, and the only reason they're there is because their parents watch it, so the kids got into it. Whereas there were a lot of kids there whose parents were not Trekkies.
It was very stark to go to conventions years ago and just have mostly adults, but then you would have kids where they like Star Trek, and you knew that they did
because the parents are there.
Yeah. STLV last year, when me and Mike were walking around, we were genuinely shocked, and a large majority of them, yes, some were Prodigy, but we had Datas, we had Doctors, we had Strange New Worlds, DS9, Voyager.
Have started with Prodigy, got the bug, and watched everything else.
Watch more, because Prodigy connects them to the rest of the series.
Exactly.
And I think, look, Prodigy is great for getting kids into Star Trek. I really, really believe that. I hope.
I love it.
Season. I love it.
Yeah.
And I think Lower Decks is the perfect entry for adults who have never got into Trek.
100%.
And it's with these gateways that you can then get a bigger fan base. But instead, what we've got people running the show who don't quite understand that. And what they're doing is they're kind of going, well, the superhero model works. So let's create another superhero movie, because that's what's been happening for years. How many flipping superhero movies have we had in the last 20 years?
All of them.
One a year, practically, for the last 20
I
years.
think
How many more
Marvel
times
is
are we
on
going to have the Avengers and Captain America and Thor? I mean, I'm not being funny. It's been
35
done
movies so far.
I know.
Yeah.
And now DC have decided that they're now going to redo their universe because they screwed up last time, because the last universe they didn't like and it didn't work and this, that, and the other. So now we're going to create a new universe, and it's just like because the formula works. And unfortunately, I think that's what you've got here. You've got essentially what was supposed to be a 10-parter series, and they go, well, we've had this written, we need to do something with it. Well, let's just condense it down and turn it into a mediocre action movie because we need to do something with it. We've paid the money to have the script written.
Yeah.
And that's how it comes across. I think if they'd taken a step back and said, right, we've got this series, okay, it's great. Let's mothball it for the moment. Let's actually write a new dedicated Section 31 movie.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be a very, very different story.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
We still would all rewatch this for different reasons.
Of course, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, at the core of it, because what we do in Trek is we rewatch things. Over and over. I would rewatch this, and I would rewatch it more than once.
I mean, look, I go back to what I said earlier. I think take it out of the Star Trek universe, it's probably, I would say it's a 7 out of 10. It's a 7 out of 10 movie. It's actually quite an entertaining movie that's got some really good things going for it, that's really easy to watch. But the moment you stick it in the Star Trek universe, it instantly becomes a 4 and a 5 out of 10. Because the problem is that the moment you stick it in the Star Trek universe, all of the Trekkies like us are going to sit there and criticize the absolute nuts out of it because it's too different to what we've had before.
Well, different in that it's not connected.
Exactly. But also there are a lot of Trekkies out there who, even to this day, badmouth Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not the Star Trek I grew up with, because they can't open their mind that little bit just to go, well, what if it was slightly different? And
we have a problem with differences and being hopeful.
Exactly. I mean, look, I'm not afraid to say this. Discovery is one of my favorite Star Trek shows. Flat out. It has its downfalls. Yes, the Klingons are terrible. No doubt about it. But I don't watch it for that. I watch it because the characters are brilliant, because the stories are brilliant. And I think that's what a lot of people don't. I think a lot of Star Trek fans get so wrapped up in the silly little details that they completely overlook the characters, the story, the universe it's set in. I've said this many times. Star Trek for me is a sign of hope that we have fixed all of our problems on Earth, and we have fixed them. So now let's go into space and actually do something. And I think, again, it's just what a lot of fans, I think, that are going to overlook. Because I think when you take the characters and the story, actually, it's not bad.
Right.
So take it out of the Star Trek universe.
I get it. I think you're right, Mike, and I hope that that's the message we should send to people, right? Now,
absolutely. Take it out of the Star Trek universe and pretend it's not part of it, because it instantly becomes a really good movie.
Oh, see, now the movie starts outside of Federation space, so
exactly.
Just stay there.
Let's go there. This is Kelvin timeline.
Oh no! Don't go there. Don't go there.
No, there's not enough lens flares for that.
Too busy rotating the cameras.
Cameras, there he is. There it is. We've come full rotation camera.
Yeah, full circle.
Hey, well done.
Thank you.
So look, I think look, the message is that actually taking out Star Trek franchise is a good movie. The moment it goes into the Star Trek franchise, it becomes a meh movie. But I don't think that's a reason to hate on it. I think to get something better next time, we all need to be watching this and supporting it, even though there are definitely parts of this film which are horrible and terrible and borderline insulting.
There are some glaring issues.
Exactly, absolutely. But we just need to support it so we can get more.
Look. Let's be real, guys. This is what you need to come closer, guys. I'm going to speak now. I'm going to speak on behalf of everybody else. Okay, this is what you need to do. You need to do exactly what you need to do for Clonestar and my channel and everyone else's channel that you love on YouTube. You need to put it on autoplay and just play it again and again and again and again and again. You need to do that with Section 31, Lower Decks, and Star Trek Prodigy, wherever you can find it. Just keep on playing it, because that is how the mighty algorithm works. Listen to the captain. This is the most lucidity I'm going to be today.
And as Trek fans, we can play a game.
Yeah.
We can beat an algorithm.
What we do
Can we play a game? Hannah Marie, move along home.
I knew it. I knew it was coming. I got him. I got it. Thank you very much.
But yeah, I think that's a really good note to end this on. Yes, it has its downfalls, but to get something better next time, we need to support it. We need to watch it.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a nice positive note to end this. Jodie, Mike, look, thank you so much for helping me review this very interesting movie.
Yes, let's go with that.
We'll leave it at that one.
We'll go there.
For everybody else watching and listening to this at home, remember, you can catch up with more Clonestar podcast on our Patreon page, patreon.com/ClonestarPod, where you can show your love for us from as little as $2 whole a month. And trust me, those $2 whole pounds, or euros really do help. We want to do so much this year, but it always revolves around that Gold Press Platinum. So anything you can do to help us will be a huge help, because look, we don't do this for money. We do this because we love doing it, but we want to give you more, and the only way to do that is with the money. So make sure you join our Patreon. Link will be in the video description and in the podcast description in your favorite podcast app. But until next time, live long and prosper.
For the Empire!
Applause.
Applause.